arrived with one of the most important figures in history, especially when it comes to the expansion in westward.
Yeah, he lived right here in North Carolina. There's even a town named after him in the high country. As
We the People celebrates the upcoming 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, WBTV's John Carter shows the story of Daniel Boone.
Davie County is a little more than an hour's drive northeast of Charlotte. When you look at it from this angle, you can somewhat imagine how it might have looked back in the 1700s when it was more a wilderness area. It was here that the Boone family moved from Pennsylvania in 1751 with young Daniel. Yes, that Daniel Boone, the one who later led countless settlers through the Cumberland Gap, the then little-known pass through the Appalachian Mountains, opening up the young country to massive westward expansion.
This really changed American history because he had opened the way for English-speaking people in the East to go in. You know, as I say in the book, Kentucky was the key. And once you had gone to Kentucky, then the Ohio River Valley was open. Ohio, the Illinois country, the Mississippi country. So big change in American history, led by Daniel Boone. Of course, that's one reason he's so famous.
Best-selling author Robert Morgan spoke with me from his office at Cornell University. His book, Boone, is considered by many to be the definitive biography of Daniel Boone.
He was a person of great charm. People liked him. He had presence. If he was in a room, everybody turned to him. Everybody knew who was the authority there. He just had that leadership thing.
Boone's skills as an explorer and frontiersman were honed right here in North Carolina.
He came there as a teenager, about 16 years old, and when he left, he was Daniel Boone, the great hero of the frontier. He spent about 20 years in North Carolina.
Among other things, Boone hunted and trapped, learned and loved the Indian culture, was part of the county militia, and met and married Rebecca. And he was always exploring, as noted by this statue of Boone on the campus of Appalachian State University in the town named after him.
He hunted further and further west from the Yadkin every year, a little further. Went to about where Appalachian State is. There was a hunter's cabin there.
As he grew older and more restless, Daniel and Rebecca eventually left North Carolina.
He wanted to know what was beyond the next hill. He just had to know.
While Daniel and Rebecca Boone may have left North Carolina, his parents stayed here in Davie County. This historical marker along Highway 601 commemorates the lives of Squire and Sarah Boone. The two are buried here together in the historical Joppa Cemetery in Mocksville. As for Daniel, he died in 1820 at the age of 85 at his son's home in Missouri. He outlived Rebecca, and they were later buried alongside one another in Kentucky.
He's usually more associated with Kentucky than with North Carolina because that's where he really acquired international fame. But North Carolina, you know, is the making of him, you might say. This is what formed him, was being there at that time, in that place, in the Yadkin Valley.
I'm John Carter, WBTV, and We the People.
Now you know the story of a legend here in North Carolina, right?
We learn something new every day.
That's the beauty of these stories,
yes.
No question about it. That does it for us tonight. Make sure you check back in tonight for WBTV News at 11.
Good night, everyone. We will see you back here tomorrow night.